What's up, guys? It's the Z-Man. I'm back again with kind of an impromptu video. Something I wanted to do last year, but I never had. I don't think it's that I didn't have the time. It's just it's never happened. And I just had the idea again a few days ago that I wanted to do it like this year for sure. And that is to talk about what games I play this year, games I liked, didn't like. I have my notebook here, some stuff to the side. So yeah, I still might do a retrospective kind of thing of the previous 2 years since I didn't do them, but I'll definitely do it. I'm doing it this year. So, let's see. So one big thing that happened this year is I got a PlayStation 5. It's over there next to me. That was in March. And then on that PS5, I actually platinumed the Astro's Playroom game that came pre-installed in it. It's a really fun game. Simple little 3D platformer. It took me like 8 hours to platinum. Usually I suck at 3D platformers, but it was fairly easy, so I did it. The first game I actually completed this year was Final Fantasy VIII on Steam. I'd never played it before. I spent a lot of 2020 playing it and losing, quite frankly. It took me a long time to fully get like the junction system and how to really properly use it. And then on top of that, the Tamisha fight was really difficult, but I finally figured out how to game that fight as well. Just kept Squall at low health so that his limit break would trigger every turn, and then 2 turns of Lionheart or whatever. Tamisha is done. So it feels kind of cheaty, but it worked out. I spent a long time trying to defeat her. So, from what I could tell, the only other platinum, so I looked through all my Nintendo stuff, all my Steam stuff, all my PlayStation stuff, and all that. And I didn't complete any other games on Steam this year, actually, just Final Fantasy VIII. But the only other platinum I got this year, from what I could tell, was in Cat Quest, which is a fun little, I guess, action RPG where you play as a cat trying to rescue like his sister or something like that. It's really fun and cute, fairly short. Took me 12-ish hours to platinum it. Again, pretty short, pretty cool. I'm gonna play the sequel at some point, but that's not on the top of my list for next year. I might actually note that down. So I have 3 games that are like there's like 4 or 5 games that are really on the top of my list for next year. Anyways, let's see. I played a lot of NBA 2K20 this year because it's a good time waster. I played some Fall Guys, some NASCAR Heat 5, good, another time waster. I played some Pokemon Unite when it first came out. It's pretty fun, but I just couldn't stay into it, to be completely honest. Again, also Pokemon Cafe Remix was a lot of fun this year, but again, I just couldn't stay into it for very long. just casually. I played a lot of trivia and game show games on my Switch. Trivial Pursuit, Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, stuff like that. Played quite a bit of Uno this year. Played a lot of MK11 with family. I'll talk about that more some other time though. My gosh. So I got some stuff out beside me. So I'm trying to think of the order that these games came out in this year. Oh, I also dipped back into Near Automata a bit this year, doing a bunch of side quests and stuff that I hadn't done previously. So I guess next would be Near Replicant. What's the full title? Version 1 point whatever. I actually ordered the White Snow edition. It came in this huge box. And this is on the back. Near Replicant was actually really fun. I'm gonna show you what's inside if you haven't seen it already. Near Replicant was really fun. Although I do have some qualms about it, I'll talk about. So one thing that I think was mentioned from the developers is that they wanted to optimize the combat to feel more like Nier Automata while still keeping the general feel of what the original game's combat felt like. And I will say, I think they did a pretty good job like that, because it does feel like Nier Automata gameplay, just not as fast, I guess, not as fast paced and not as smooth, I would say. Here's what came in the White Snow edition. The soundtrack. This is probably like a track list or something. Here's the soundtrack. And the other disc. Pretty cool. Haven't even listened to it, but I think Nier Replicant actually won Best Soundtrack at the Game Awards this year, which is fair. It had a really good soundtrack. It did come with the steelbook, which is on my shelf back here. I think it's actually on the bottom shelf, but it's too dark, you can't see it. Came with the pin set. Also, everything is just really cool, like designs on it. Came with the pin set. And the whole English script collection, which I will probably never open. But yeah, that's that. So as I kind of mentioned, the combat is fun, if not a little bit sluggish compared to Automata, because I did play Nier Automata first. So I feel like a lot of people who played Nier Replicant this year probably did. I like the story. Let's see. I did not like. I feel like this was probably intentional, in all honesty, but I didn't really care for the main protagonist. who they just call protagonist, or Nier is what people generally call him. Because at first he's just, like, he's trying to take care of his sister. Yeah, he's just really annoying little kid. And then 5 years later, adult protag, he's just a bloodthirsty sociopath, really. And again, it's kind of coming from a good place, but it went too far in the other direction, unfortunately. But yeah, what other, one big thing about the game that I disliked, I think my camera's over here, is that it kind of shows all it's got really quickly. So then the rest of the game, it's kind of just like, well, I've been here, done that already, Like in the first several hours of the game, you visit virtually every area the game has to offer. And there's not a lot of variety in the enemies, just different looking shades, which I get it, that's the idea, but like, I don't know, it felt kind of samey, and I actually stopped playing for a very extended period of time before going for Route C and D, and then again for Route E, which I just finished, I think, 2 days ago. I just needed a break. It felt a lot of samey, like you see all the enemies pretty quickly, and then, like I said, you visit all the different areas in the first couple hours of the game, and then you don't really get any new areas. You get like the ship that's off the coast of Seafront, which is a new, pretty small dungeon, and I think there's a few more areas like that throughout the second half of the game, but overall it's just, you spend a lot of time going through the same few areas, and it kind of got boring after a while, but like I said, the combat was pretty fun, which kept it on track for me. And also for when you did like routes B, C, D, and E, not so much E, but B, C, and D, your level carried over, but the enemy levels didn't increase, so you could just get through that stuff pretty quickly. And I think you shouldn't have had to play through the whole, like, second part of the game technically 3 times for Route A, B, and then the CD thing. I feel like that was just one too many times for me. It, like I already said, it got boring and repetitive fast. Like, been here, done that. What's new? Nothing's really new. Like, the context and everything changed, and you got to hear new dialogue and stuff, but that third time through the whole second act of the game was a little much for me personally. Also, I hate the junk heap. Just throwing that out there. It sucks. But yeah, it's a fun game. Not my game of the year for sure. I'll talk about my game of the year at the end. So what came out next? So I don't have my case for this right now. Someone else has my case for this. Hopefully I'll get back tomorrow. But new 1 week after the release of Nier, new Pokemon Snap came out for the Switch. I cannot get it to focus. Don't focus on me. Anyways, it doesn't matter if it focuses. You know what game I'm holding up. So Pokemon Snap was a really fun N64 game, and fans have been wanting a sequel for a very long time, and we finally got one. Now all we need is a new Pokemon Stadium, but so we got our Gen 4 remakes, and we got a new Pokemon Snap this year. So we just need a new Pokemon Stadium. And I personally would love a Let's Go Johto game, but I don't know. People maybe weren't super into the whole Let's Go style. I liked it for novelty every once in a while, but we'll see if they do. Oh, and Detective Pikachu too. They announced that at one of their like press things a few years ago and just dropped it, and nothing's been said about it since then. Which is unfortunate because Detective Pikachu is a super fun game. I feel like it probably kind of got overlooked because it came out the very end of the 3DS life cycle, unfortunately. Although it was the best-selling 3DS game of the month that it came out on the eShop. Anyways, new Pokemon Snap is what we're talking about. So, I put many hours into this game. I don't remember exactly how many, but I played it and I finished it very quickly within like a week or two, which for me is rare in a game because I usually play a game for a few hours and then just don't play it again for a very long time, which is what happened with Final Fantasy VIII. If you remember, I mentioned that I started playing Final Fantasy VIII at the end of 2018 and just finished it at the beginning of this year, 2021. Anyways, Pokemon Snap was fun. Had a lot of variety. Obviously, there's a lot of Pokemon in it. A lot of cool maps. It looked really good. I think it looked really good, anyways. And it was a game based on photography, so it had to look good. There's a throwback kind of river level, which I kind of was expecting, because they hyped it up to be something like nostalgic or whatever. So I was kind of hoping it would be a kind of cut and paste of the river level from the original Pokemon Snap, which it wasn't. Which is fine, it's still a cool level. And then there's like the day, night, evening, depending on where you are. You could do different versions of all the maps. It controlled well. No, it was just a really fun game, relaxing. Something I feel like we needed this year. And last year too. But it was just, after last year and this year, it's definitely a very relaxing game to chill out to. It's fun. I enjoyed it. And like I said, Pokemon Stadium number 3 win. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun, and then there's a lot of replayability to increase your rank in the different maps, so you can see new Pokemon and new behaviors, and then there's like mythical and legendary Pokemon post game and all that stuff. There's a lot to do. I actually want to start playing it again to fill up the photo decks or whatever it's called. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. It was fun. So now on to July. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate comes out in July. And I already owned the base game and a PS5, so I got the free upgrade. I had to pay $20 for episode intermission, but that's fine. I don't know why I brought this out for a visual on this, but I did. Fun game. Now y'all will have to tell me this, because I might just be losing my mind, but I swear to God, they changed the cutscenes in the integrated version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I swear. Either that or I'm going crazy, but whenever I see the cutscenes, it's like they changed the direction or something, like they show a different image over the same dialogue or something like that. They seem slightly different, but I don't know why. The game looks great, plays as good as ever, just looks better. I guess they fixed the texture issues and like lighting and stuff like that. So, great game, Episode intermission. I think Yuffie might actually be my favorite character to play as now, because she has both ranged and like up close combat styles with her ninjutsu arts or whatever are ranged, and then she could just be a close-up brawler with her ninja star as well. A lot of good variety. Spoiler, I knew Sonan was gonna die before I even played it, because even in the trailer she just screamed, "I'm gonna die," basically. I knew it was gonna happen. It was a lot of fun though. It was like the base game, it was challenging, but not too challenging, you know. They dug really deep into the lore of the original Final Fantasy VII compilation. I believe Nero was the final boss, and Vice are from Dirge of Cerberus, which is a spin-off game for the PS2. It featured Vincent, which I actually haven't played yet, but I'm planning to play 2022. That's on my list too, but it's not quite as high up. Also, it's short, so I don't expect to have any problems with it. Yeah, it was fun. Yuffie, super cute in her Moogle costume. I wish we could have had the choice to have her wear it the whole time, but that's whatever. And the ending cutscene is so good at setting up the next part of Remake Part 2. It did such a good job showing off. I feel like the end of the base game did a good job with that already, saying like, we're done here, but there's more to come. But I feel like Intergrade, the end of episode intermission, did an even better job at that by showing what the party's up to next, going to Calm. And I guess that's where we're gonna start off, is in Calm, it looks like, for part 2, which is exciting. Oops, hold on. So we'll see what comes out of it. Yeah, the combat was fun, the story was fun. I really like what they've done with Yuffie's character. They did a good job at translating her over to Remake, like they've done with every character so far, if you ask me. And I will say one thing is, it's funny, it's actually a line of dialogue Yuffie said in the episode, like, "Oh, I wish we were with the Splinter Cell, because they seem to me more aligned with what Yuffie and Sonon were trying to do in Midgar." And I agree, because the Avalanche group that they were with, I didn't care for like really any of them. They were annoying and stupid, to be quite honest. GJ was kind of cool. I don't know if he's even part of Avalanche. I don't think he was really, but he was kind of funny and cool. It was fun, kind of just to tide us over until part 2 comes out, probably 2023. I would be incredibly shocked if it came out this year. I'm expecting 2023, but we'll see. They haven't mentioned it at all really since part 1 came out. So on the subject of Final Fantasy VII Remake, for my birthday this year, I got to go to the Final Fantasy VII Remake Orchestra World Tour in LA, which is why I've been waving this thing around. Someone was giving them away at the concert, and it's really cool. And actually, being in LA, a lot of the voice cast was in attendance at the concert. And if I remember in editing, I'll put up this picture, but I got to meet Brianna White, the voice of Aerith, our favorite flower girl. My girlfriend and I were both there. And if you can see, we got Brianna White's autograph on Final Fantasy trading cards. So that was super exciting, just while we were on the subject of Remake. That was like one of the high. This year's been really good to me, I can't lie. Had some downsides for sure, but overall, it's been a pretty good year. What do I have next? Oh, only 2 more. So next is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond coming out in November 2021. Oh my gosh, I just had a side note. I might cut this and move it to where it makes sense. But in Nier Replicant, I finally finished the Route E 2 days ago from when I'm recording this. And it's cool, it was interesting. I said the whole time I played it, I actually uploaded my probably hour and a half, 2-hour playthrough of it. By the time you see this, it's probably not going to be uploaded yet. I still have to download the VOD and edit it, but I did play it. It will be uploaded at some point. I want to upload this today or tonight because it's New Year's Eve right now. But I'm running out of time, so if I could edit this quickly, get it out, that would be cool. So we'll see. But no, Route E was cool. It was short, which I'm okay with. But I feel like they could have done more with it, personally. Because there's this big build up to saving Nier, right? And then you save Nier, the big flower opens up, and that's it. There's a view of Kaine in a meal with a young Nier. And that's it. Nothing else happens after that. I feel like they could have done more with that. Added another few minute cutscene to show what happens afterwards, but they just didn't do it. So, I mean, it's okay. It's extra content that wasn't even in the original Nier release in 2010, so that's really cool. But again, I just feel like they could have done more with it. That's just my opinion. Anyways, back to this. November, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl come out. I played Brilliant Diamond because I personally like Dialga better than Palkia. It actually used to be the opposite of that when I was younger, but I changed. I like blue now. But, so this is another instance of, it's good, but I feel like they could have done more. I feel like this is probably the weakest entry in the Pokemon series in a long time. Like I said, it was fun. It's just, I feel like they could have done more. They could have added more extra content throughout the game, like they did with Oras. They added the whole Delta episode at the end of the game. Which Oras is one of my favorite games ever. If I'm being honest, definitely my favorite Pokemon game. Largely in part due to the Delta episode. And then, you look at Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they could have added the Sevi Islands things just for more content. I feel like that game was not worth the $60 price tag, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Brilliant Diamond. Was it worth the $60 price tag? I'd say yes. Because there's a lot of content in the game. If you just play through the story and then drop after that, you'll probably be disappointed, quite honestly. But I'm doing legendary hunting at Raminus Park. I'm doing the underground stuff because that's required to get the legendaries at Raminus Park. I will say the way they've done the legendaries is pretty cool. They make it a lot harder to access them, so it's pretty interesting. I'm into it, but I like the way the game looked. I like the chibi look. They're trying to keep the original DS vibe from the original game, which I'm into. I think the Pokemon looked fine. I think the character models looked fine. I didn't encounter any bugs or glitches while I was playing personally, though I know quite a few people did. That's neither here nor there for me, because I didn't find anything. It's just, I don't know, for a remake, I feel like they could have done more. They could have added more content. Because I think about remakes in Pokemon. Fire Red, Leaf Green, they added the Sevi Islands. Not a lot, but something, you know. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I think they put the Safari Zone back in, and they added more story bits. And Oras again, the Delta episode. Love the Delta episode. So cool. And I feel like they could just added another area or whatever, added some more story elements to it to make it more interesting, but it's a very faithful recreation of the original games. And also, in all honesty, Gen 4 is probably my least favorite generation of Pokemon. All honesty, probably either Gen 4 or Gen 7. Those games don't have much replayability for me. Neither of them do. But yeah, like I said, the weakest entries today, I feel like they didn't really do anything new. I really loved Sword and Shield and that expansion pass. Let's Go was a lot of fun. It was different. It was interesting. I don't know. The thing about Sun and Moon was really cool, really interesting, but there's no reason to buy or play Sun and Moon because Ultra Sun and Moon is literally just the same game, just better with more content, a slightly different story. But yeah, Ultra Sun and Moon is really good, but not a lot of replayability for me personally. Don't know why, but that's just how it is. And then you go back, Oras, my favorite games. X and Y were a lot of fun. Let's jump to 3D. Black and White had a really cool story. And some cool new Pokemon. Don't remember Black 2, White 2. Have not played them in probably since they came out. Wanna try it again, but they're really expensive. I know I could just emulate them, but I like having physical copies of Pokemon games. Yeah, it's so weak entry in my opinion. They didn't do anything, you know, there's no Mega Evolutions like Gen 6, no C moves like Gen 7, Gen 8, they did the whole Dynamax, Gigantamax thing. But then you come to Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, they didn't have any of that. They had none of these gimmicks that previous generations had introduced. It was just vanilla Gen 4. Which there's not really a problem with, but I feel like having some of these things like Mega Evolutions or even the Dynamax thing could have made the whole thing a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Someone waking up back there. Nope. That's just my opinion. Fun, but could have been a lot better. So now I have one more game, and this is my game of the year for 2021. That is Bravely Default 2. This game is awesome. It's actually my most played game of the year. I think I put in over 90 hours by the time I finished it, but it's a lot of fun. I remember playing the first demo. First demo kind of turned me away from the game because it was really difficult. But then the second demo, when I was able to choose my difficulty, a lot more interesting for me because I wasn't as frustrated. And it sold me on the game, so I bought it from Best Buy. I think it was on sale, and it came with 4 coasters and a poster, which is the posters on my wall. But yes, Bravely Default 2, definitely my game of the year. I played it more than any other game, and I really, really enjoyed it. Excuse me, I've never played a game with this, I guess it's called the turn borrowing system that Default has. I never played the original Bravely Default. Like I said, I haven't played a game like it before with that type of combat system. And I really, really enjoyed it, especially once you get used to it and figure out what jobs you want and stuff. It's really interesting. There's Seth. Well, I just kept the main character's name as Seth. I think you can actually rename him, but I didn't. So there's Seth, Adele, Gloria, and Elvis are the four main characters. It's a lot of very interesting plot twists. I guess I'll be talking spoilers right now, so if you don't want spoilers, tune out for a few seconds. So learning about the history between the humans and the fairies is interesting because you then find out that Adele is a fairy. And then there's which is really interesting. Then you get to go to the world of the fairies and stuff like that and figure out who Adele's sister really is. And there's a lot of interesting stuff involving Adele and her sister. Really, they're kind of the backbone of the story and why everything happened the way that it did. And then, there's the developing love interest between Elvis and Adele, which is really freaking cute if you ask me, especially when they both finally realize it, but neither one of them can just outright say it. It's super cute, kind of like Garnet and Zidane from Final Fantasy IX, and now they kind of finally both realize it, they just can't say it to each other. And then there's also the less obvious but still present love interest between Gloria and Seth, which is a lot more subtle, and it takes a lot longer for that to come out, I guess, but it's still there for sure. And then there's several different endings, and you finally get to the true ending. You have to you have to go through it a few times. Like, you have to do the actual ending, I think, twice to finally get, because there's a lot of points where the game stops, and it's like, it feels like a dead end, and like the credits actually roll because either there's a boss fight that you're supposed to lose, or there's a point where a character dies but then comes back, but you have to reload the game until you actually get just reload the game from the last save, and then something will happen, and they find a way to progress the story further till you get to the true ending where everything's happy or whatever, and it's really cool. It could just be my affinity towards turn-based JRPGs. I didn't really finish a lot of games this year. I wanted to finish more, but I just didn't. But this is my game of the year, 2021. It's really good. I can't really think of any other games that came out this year that I even wanted to play that I didn't get to play. Excuse me. Like, not really. And this one really surprised me by the time I got into it. And started really, really getting into the story. Because I played about 20 to 30, probably more like 30-ish hours early in the year, but then I took a very long break and started playing it again just last month in November, and I made it a point to finish this before this came out in the middle of November, and I finished this the morning of this game's release. The morning of, because it took me a very, very long time. It took a lot of grinding and a lot of losing just to figure out the strategy for all the bosses. Again, it was super fun. The story was really pleasant. Honestly, I liked all the characters. I can't really think of a main character anyways that I didn't like. which is really hard for a game to do, to make a full cast of likable main characters. But even like side characters like Galahad and Roddy and Lily and Wiswald, that's what the place is called in Wiswald. They're really likable. Prince Pollux and the desert place. What's it called? Savalon. It's called Savalon. I don't know why I couldn't think of it, but yeah, they like Prince Pollux, Stromid, just the king of the first city, which I also can't, of Halcyonia. I can't think of his name, but you know, just a bunch of really likable characters. And the unlikable characters died. Well, most of them died anyways, I guess. So, yeah. It's a really fun game, really interesting world, and wrong game. It did what I really like in games, and was constantly introducing you to new areas as the game progressed. Each chapter took place in a different area, and just the opposite of what Nier Replicant did. One of my biggest gripe with that game, like I mentioned earlier, you see everything pretty quickly, and then you just spend the next rest of the game going between the same like 5 areas, and it gets old. But this game didn't get old. A lot of new areas, new cities everywhere, new parts of the open world map that you got to experience, and just a lot of surprises along the way, personally, for me. And that's my game of the year. I might make a whole nother video on each of these games individually, where I show footage and stuff. Just right now I don't have my I do have my capture card, but I don't have my good laptop for doing stuff like that. But anyways, now that I've done that, like I said, I might make a similar retrospective video for the previous 2 years, 2019 and 2020. Going into this year, the 3 games that are on the top of my list right now are Final Fantasy IV 3D Remake, which I've already started playing on my channel. I have some videos if you want to check them out, but I need to finish it, like just buckle down and finish it. Final Fantasy VI, which I've also started playing, but I'm gonna cut that and wait for the Pixel Remaster to come out and restart the series as a Pixel Remaster. So I do technically have, I think, 4 videos of that up. I'm gonna delete them and then re-upload the Pixel Remaster version of that game. And then Octopath Traveler is the 3rd one. I'm not recording or streaming that, I'm just playing it in my own time. I played the prologue demo, I think in 2020, really liked it, and I actually bought it, I think last year as well. I just never really played it. However, I started playing it again a few days ago, and I also really want to finish that this year, because what I have played so far, I've really enjoyed. I want to finish it. And the other 2 games, not as high on my list, but still on my list for this year, for sure, is Final Fantasy 13-2. I finished Final Fantasy 13, I think at the beginning of 2020. I played it throughout 2019 and finished it early 2020. Really enjoyed it. Really looking forward to see what 13.2 and Lightning Returns have to offer, because I do own both of the games. I actually played a few hours of 13.2 and then just stopped for some reason. And then the other one is the Trials of Mana remake for the Switch, which I have videos of. I think I have 2 videos uploaded, 1 or 2. The thing about that is I need to get James. Well, I have my own save file separate from the one I'm uploading to YouTube, which I want to finish also, because actually quite enjoyable. But as far as the upload goes, if I can ever get James back, or if I could somehow take my setup to his house and record over there, that could work. I'd have to ask him about it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. There's also quite a few new games coming out next year. Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. It's looking to be interesting. I uploaded a video of the trial version several months ago. If you want to check that out on my channel. What else is coming out next year? Chocobo GP or whatever. That looks fun as heck. I don't have anything pre-ordered right now because there's nothing that I want to pre-order. Oh, Legends Arceus is coming out next year. They haven't quite sold me on that game yet. They're pretty close, but I want to see more of it. In fact, I might want to see like actual gameplay. Like watch people do playthroughs of it when it first comes out. Because I'm not sold on it yet, but I'm not quite sure why. We don't know what else is coming out of Square Enix next year. I don't see any mainline Final Fantasy games coming out next year. Strangers of Paradise is coming out. I don't see 16 or Remake 2 coming out next year, at least until 2023. We might not see 16 until 2024, honestly. But Remake Part 2, I expect a news for sure, because it's been almost 2 years since Part 1 came out, but they got away with it this year by giving us Integrate as well as a PC release, but I expect news on it next year for sure. And that's all I could think of off the top of my head. Nothing that really piques my interest too much yet, except for Chocobo GP and maybe Strangers of Paradise. It looks kind of cool. I kind of enjoyed the trial versions of it, but that's all I wanted to talk about today. If you haven't played Bravely Default 2 yet and you have a Switch, it actually came out on Steam too. If you have a Switch or a gaming PC, laptop, whatever, play it. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. Again, I might make individual videos for all of these games at some point in the future once I get my good laptop back. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed. Tell me what your game of the year was this year and what else you played this year. You know, I'm curious to know what other people thought. If you have played this one, Bravely Default 2, let me know what you think about it, if you enjoyed it, why, if there are similar games like it that I could play, stuff like that, you know, because I really enjoyed it. Good story, fun combat. But yeah, that's it. So I will see you all next year, technically. Goodbye.